Okay, my name is Dan. Welcome, everyone. This is Shamatha meditation in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. Is anyone here for the first time? Cool. And thanks for joining us, everyone who's returning. We're now on week 5, so this is the second half of the course. So just as a quick review, the first session we covered resting body, speech, and mind in the natural state. And in that, we did shamatha meditations on the movements of the body, the sound of the breath, and the activity of the mind. Then we did meditation on a physical object. The rock was the example of that, but there's a whole family of meditations in that. Last 2 weeks, we did imaginary objects. The white bindu and the blue bindu were examples of that, but that's a whole family of meditations. So what's next? We meditated on the activity of the mind. You can also meditate on any concept, which might seem a little different, but actually a good example of that is on Wednesday nights here, they do meditation on loving kindness. So that's actually, it can be a conceptual shamatha meditation if you focus your attention on that concept of loving kindness. So even, this isn't just Tibetan Buddhism, even in Indian Buddhism, like Theravada, the old meditation manuals, there's a number of, as I said, with the rock meditation, there's a number of physical meditation objects. And there are also a number of conceptual meditation objects. So, I have to put on my glasses. There are the 4 immeasurables. So conceptual meditations on loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. And then also on generosity, virtue, death, nirvana. So some of these are things that, if you're meditating on nirvana, obviously you're meditating on the concept of nirvana because you haven't attained nirvana. Another one that's big and kind of leads us into today's meditation is in Theravada, there's meditating on the Buddha and the qualities of the Buddha. So in that meditation, the concepts that you focus on are he's accomplished, fully enlightened, endowed with clear vision and virtuous conduct. He's sublime. He's the incomparable leader of men to be tamed, the teacher of gods and men, and enlightened and blessed. So we're not going to be meditating on that list, thank goodness, because it's a little out there. It's a little hard to connect to for me. But moving into Tibetan the Tibetan version and today's meditation, the book does say to meditate on the Buddha or a Bodhisattva. There's a bit of a cultural disconnect there because if you were raised in Tibet, the image of the Buddha would bring all of these, the same way that seeing Santa Claus brings to mind if you were raised in the West and exposed to Santa Claus. There's that he's an icon that you connect to, and just seeing that icon brings certain memories and certain a connection to the qualities of Santa. Whereas someone from a different culture might look at Santa. You can come on in. Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life is downstairs. No problem. So if someone from a different culture saw Santa and you said meditate on the qualities of Santa, they would just be sitting there not knowing what you're supposed to meditate on because they don't know what Santa represents. So you could meditate on Buddha or any of these bodhisattvas behind me, but if you don't know, even if you know their names and what they symbolize, they might not be the strongest cultural references. What we're trying to do here is meditate on an archetype that represents good, positive qualities so that while we're developing shamatha, we're also meditating on these positive qualities and developing those qualities in ourselves by meditating on the wholesomeness and virtue of those qualities. So I've seen some Tibetan meditation teachers teach this or similar meditations to this, and they let you pick your own cultural icons based on what you find most meaningful. So you're going to have some flexibility in today's meditation, and I hope that that helps, or I hope that's not too much. So it can be anyone fictional, historical, divine. Just, don't pick like Darth Vader, someone with good, wholesome, virtuous qualities that you can meditate on. Historical figures are okay. Anyone from a popular culture, a book, TV show, any hero, superhero that has qualities that you would want to emulate in yourself. If you were raised in another religious tradition, so if you were raised Christian, you got the saints, you got the popes, you got the angels, you got Jesus. And like I said, anything from Western culture. It's interesting that we don't really have a common cultural reference in America and the West like they do in some other countries like Tibet. So I've actually often wondered if the whole craze with like things like Star Wars and superheroes and Marvel is us kind of craving for that common culture. And those are kind of like our gods and goddesses like they had back in the ancient Greek and Roman times. But so ones that I've used that I've meditated on traditional bodhisattvas and Buddhas and stuff, but some of the untraditional ones that I've picked are Captain Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek Next Generation, the 10th and 11th Doctors Who, Robin Hood, Yoda, Santa Claus, Jesus, and even He-Man from the old 80s cartoon. He was actually very courageous, very nonviolent, very compassionate. As many times as Skeletor tried to kill him, he would just let Skeletor go. He always thought Skeletor was redeemable. So, that's actually something that connected to me, when I was young, that meditating on that now is kind of interesting. Okay, so, and if you can't think of three, so we're going to do 3 meditations today. So if you can't think of 3 meditation objects, that's okay. You can just do the same one over and over and over again. Or if you can only think of 2, you could do your favorite one twice and your least favorite one once. So give you guys a second to think of them. And then while you're thinking of them, if anyone wants to share a good idea that they have, just raise your hand and maybe it'll help someone else. Yeah.
I hope I don't miss it. I'm sorry if I did is so when we meditate on one of these vehicles of virtues, right? What does that meditation mean?
We'll get into the instructions. I'm going to give you a chance to pick your guys first, and then we'll get to your instructions. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I thought of 2, like, so far, because I was on a walk before I came over here. I was walking the dog, and walked past the via Montezuma, and there's the Sophos stained glass. You know what I'm talking about? So I picked Sophos.
Okay.
Then, I walked past the St. Francis statue too. So
I
picked that.
Is what culture is Sophos from? Is that Greek?
Yeah.
Okay. And you got a Greek, and you've got someone from the Christian tradition. That's great.
St. Francis.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the third one.
Well, maybe it'll come to you because we're going to do one, and then another one, and another one. So maybe when you're meditating on your first one, they'll tell you what your second one is. What it's going to be. And then I suggest ranking them, if you have more than one, ranking them from the most mundane to the more supernatural, because we're going to be adding techniques that would be more helpful later on. So, for example, if you picked Santa, Pope Francis, and Jesus, you should do them in that order. Start, for your first meditation, do Santa, and then Pope Francis, and Jesus, the most spiritual one. Or if you picked Robin Hood, Thich Nhat Hanh, and Guan Yin, then again in that same order. Okay, so does anyone not have a meditation object at all? Everyone's got at least one. Good. Okay. So now to the meditation instructions. As I said, we're gonna, so now bring to mind at least one quality of this person that you want to emulate. You can just pick one quality to make it simple, or you can pick multiple qualities. I usually try to find 3. Sometimes I can only get 2. Sometimes you might only get 1, or again, to keep it simple, you can always pick 1. If you have multiple during the meditation, what you'll do is you'll meditate on one quality for a while and then move on to another quality and then go back to the start. So There's said to be 3 different personality types that relate to how we connect to concepts. So there's body, speech, and mind personality types. So I'm going to give you guys instructions for each of the 3, and you can mix and match these because it's very likely you're a mix of some. And to make it more concrete, I'm going to kind of do a guided meditation through the 3 types of instructions on Santa Claus. I hope that's not terribly offensive to anyone. And so if you want to just close your eyes and we'll do a little meditation. Just don't even worry about posture. This is just so that I can use a concrete example and not have to try to be generic with everything that I say. So say I'm going to use Santa Claus, and I'm going to use his qualities of generosity, kindness, and joviality. So if you're a speech personality, you connect to concepts through words, spoken words, linguistic labels. So if you're speech personality, the best way to connect to Santa's positive qualities would be in your mind to just repeat Santa, 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 for a while, then just to get him in mind, and then generous, 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 or generosity, 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 kindness, 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 joviality, 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 and just cycle through like that. If your body personality, that means you connect to concepts through symbols, through shapes, through colors, through visualized. So in that instance, you can just visualize Santa and think of his concepts, but it's better to keep the imagination dynamic. So you might actually want to picture Santa Claus, for generosity. He's spending all that time going over Christmas lists, building toys, then all that work to go down all those chimneys and deliver all the toys. So you can picture that in your mind, go through that as kind of an animation to connect to the concept of generosity. Kindness, you can picture him, in the mall, all the kids coming and sitting on his lap, and he's saying kind things to him, and he's cheering them up, and he wants to know what they want for Christmas. And then for joviality, you could picture him laughing and always being in a good mood. And then with the mind type personality, you connect to concepts more directly through the actual feeling or the raw cognition of the concept. So in that, you would just bring to mind the feeling of generosity, the feeling of kindness, the feeling of joviality, and then you'd be connecting to the concepts through that. So go ahead and open your eyes back up. Does anyone have any questions on those instructions? Okay, so everyone's ready. Good. Okay, so it'll be a little less formal today. Any posture that you want, as long as your spine is straight, you're alert, you're relaxed, and you're stable. So yeah, go ahead and get into your meditation posture of choice. And we're going to start by reflecting on our motivation to practice for a few moments. So what are you trying to accomplish or gain from your practice? You might also want to think about over time how your practice might change or improve how you go about your day, and then how that might affect the way you interact with the people you come across every day. Then you can think about how that might change, if changing the way you interact with others would benefit the people that you're interacting with by you interacting with them in a different way, perhaps nicer, kinder, more caring. And then if you see that would benefit others, then hopefully that helps to motivate your practice as well. So now you can just relax your body, let your breathing be natural, relax your mind, and also rest your awareness. You don't have to focus on anything right now. You don't have to do anything right now. Okay, now go ahead and bring to mind your meditation object and maintain the focus of your attention on their positive qualities through whatever method you chose. If you're doing a lot of visualization, be sure to take breaks. If it might be good to take a break, open your eyes if you're getting it all sleepy, come back to your meditation with refreshed energy, and giving yourself that break might give your imagination a little boost when you come back. If you find you've been distracted, if your attention has been distracted by some thought, some idea, some plans, some memory, recognize what distracted you, release it, let go of it, relax a little bit, and come back to your meditation object. Okay, so as you come out of meditation, you can reflect on your experience and how did it go for everyone? Anyone want to comment?
I'm
Sure.
not sure I
Oh, go
followed
ahead.
the instructions correctly. Can you remind me like what the meditation techniques were?
Yeah. So one technique is you can go through the qualities of the person, and just if this that was the speech personality, so you just go over the labels in your head. It's like with Stana, you would just go generous, 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 kind, kind, kind. You're just repeating the words and connecting through that. The body personality, you can either visualize the person that you're trying to meditate on and enumerate their qualities, or you can actually. We found in some of the earlier classes that people could imagine things clearer if their imagination was more active. So you can imagine them, so if it was a saint, you can imagine him and being generous or kind. You can imagine him giving his time or giving to the poor. So you kind of picture them in different scenarios to connect to the qualities. And then the third one would be for the mind personality, where you can I feel like that one would be more rare, but where you would just connect to the feeling, there's the raw feeling of generosity and whatever other qualities associated with that.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember the techniques when I was doing it. At first, I was just repeating the name Sappos.
Yeah, and that's fine.
I actually did the second one. I was like thinking about I don't know, I just found out about Sappos earlier, so I was sort of meditating just on the Greek island.
Okay.
And like how it relates to I don't know, she was supposedly like the origin of lesbianism or something. Okay. She was a poet, so that's what my friend was saying. I'm probably picturing the history, so I was picturing her like on like Greek island or something.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like the problem there is that it wasn't. If it's someone you just found out about, then it's not like a deep cultural. You know what I mean? Like some of the ones that I meditate on, like are characters that I have developed a feeling for many years.
My mind went straight to the Jewish temple that has all the Greek gods and the mosaic around it, the really old one, and I just kind of was like, because I guess I'm happy Jewish on both sides. I was like, kind of like, I was thinking about that, just how they had that as like a cultural thing, even though they didn't worship them.
Do you feel like you connected to any of the qualities of Sappos?
I don't know. I was just, I guess I was like sort of thinking about my feminine side, I guess.
Yeah, that's fine. The thing with this class is this is kind of a sampler platter of a bunch of Tibetan meditations that I don't think they're too difficult to do for anyone. But for one, it's like when you get a sampler platter of appetizer sampler, there's some you're going to like a lot and wish you had more of, and there's some that you're not going to like very much, and you kind of feel like you have to eat it anyway because you paid for it. But the other side is that a lot of these meditations aren't too hard to do, but until you do them more, you don't really start to see the benefit of it right away. This meditation in particular, this is the kind of meditation I never wanted to do when I first got into meditation. But now that I've given it more of a chance, and it's actually, I feel like the ones that are the hardest to light are the ones that are the most rewarding. The ones that are rewarding right away, you're probably going to have that same level of reward or benefit the whole time you do it. But the ones that take a long time to get into, and at first you're not really feeling the reward, I feel like maybe the meditations get more into that area the further we go. You either try them and say that's not for me, or you develop a taste. You keep trying it, you develop a taste for it, and then it becomes your favorite thing on the menu. So with that, are there any other questions or any? I think you had something to say. Oh. I thought you'd raise your hand.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't sure somebody behind.
Nobody behind you.
Yeah, what was very nice to get in contact with those feelings, and first my Martin Luther King Jr. Okay, and then I found my way from Martin Luther King Jr. to Mahatma Gandhi, who I really resonate with, because of his courage, his equanimity in those circumstances, the courage and the equanimity, and his caring that carried him through to do all the work that he did. And it was very nice to get in touch with my feelings about his feelings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Did you just happen to change because I hope I wasn't unclear in the instructions that we're doing one at a time? But if you just felt like changing in the middle because you didn't like who you picked.
With Martin Luther King Jr. Because he was very activist, and he was carrying a sense of justice. Mm. But as far as just this exuding this positive type of thing, it isn't. He did well. I don't know whether he did that or not, doesn't matter. But with Mahatma Gandhi, it was richer. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't unclear on. I didn't want to make sure I wasn't unclear with the instructions that you're supposed to do all three at the same time. Because it does get confusing because there's three, you could have up to three qualities, and then there's three people. That'll be separate meditations. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with feeling out which
which person you wanted to do first. That's totally fine. Anyone else want to share?
It was easier to engage this week with somebody who I can relate to. Was the first one for me to meditate on, and I was visualizing it, but started saying the word that a quality of value of the person who I admire, and that was really nice that I'm taking it in and realize that that's the quality I want to build in myself too, and all this time. I was distracted from some of the activity we all do in the community with the person, but I could catch myself and then come back. And
Good,
it was
good.
very good for engagement.
Mm-hmm. When you were distracted, did you just come right back, or did you try the advice that I gave you on recognizing what distracted you, letting it go, relaxing, and coming back? And did that seem to help you? Okay, great, good to hear. Did anyone have a bad experience with meditation?
No, but I did notice that I was fine tuning as I was doing it, because I had my person and I was like debating whether the quality was the quality that I thought I wanted, or was that the correct quality. So I was kind of like playing with definitions and like, so anyway, it was just a little bit like a level above, and then I would drop back into, okay, this is the quality, and then I'd go, is it?
Yeah. So yeah, I can see that would be another challenge, is that you guys are feeling out who would even be a good choice for this.
Yeah, I had a little panic when you said pick people. I went blank. So maybe that's part of like trying to figure out what it is about the ones that I chose.
Yeah. Well, there's no wrong choices. If it didn't work out, then you know not to go back to that one.
I was like, I have no heroes. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
it's interesting how we don't have that established in our culture of these are the heroes that you can look up to. And even the fiction these days, it's not as clear cut as it used to be, where you had the good guys and bad guys. Now they want to make all the heroes more nuanced, and so you don't really get the archetypes really anywhere anymore. Okay, so if there's nothing else, I probably should move on, because I want to make sure we have time for 3, because I know you guys all have 2 more that you're dying to get to. So for the next one, you can do the same technique as before, just with a different person, or you can try something a little different, where you actually imagine the person is sitting in front of you, facing you, meditating also. So if it's Santa Claus, and I'm sitting on a mat, so Santa Claus is right here sitting on a mat, he's facing me, he's meditating with his eyes closed, just like me. So by imagine, I mean, since your eyes are closed, you shouldn't expect to see him. So if you don't have a good ability to visualize, you can simply just pretend that he's there meditating with you, and go about the meditation instructions pretty much as before. And remember, you don't have to do this. If this is too much, just go back to the instructions from the first time. Or if you're good at visualizing, you can actually visualize them meditating in the space in front of you, and then make that your meditation object, and the focus of your object as the focus of your attention as you enumerate their qualities through their actually being there. And then again, if you're the feeling personality type, you might pretend they're there or visualize them there, but then you're connecting more to their presence versus their image, and through that presence connecting to their positive qualities. So I understand that might have made it more confusing for some of you, but it is, if you want to try something a little bit different, at least just pretending they're there in the space in front of you, or trying to visualize them. Also, if you visualize them, don't worry too much. Are they not life size? You might visualize them really small. You might just have to visualize a big floating head in front of you. Don't concern yourself too much with getting the size and the shape and the posture right. Just visualize what you can, because it does take a lot of practice to be able to visualize. I mean, it depends on your level of skill and imagination, but it can take a lot of practice to be able to clearly and accurately visualize someone like that. So let's get back in our meditation postures and relax your body. Let your breathing be natural. Relax your mind. And for just a few moments, we're not going to focus our attention on anything or do anything at all. Now, close your eyes if they were open and bring to mind your second meditation object. And again, maintain the focus of your attention on their positive qualities through any of the techniques we've discussed. Again, a reminder to take breaks if you're visualizing. And of course, you know what to do if you get distracted. So as you guys are coming out of meditation, I'm going to take a moment to welcome anyone joining virtually. Sorry I didn't do that earlier. And check what. Someone earlier suggested Wonder Woman as a archetype and listed strength, compassion, empathy, persistence, endurance, and courage. So if anyone's looking for a third meditation, does anyone have anything to share from that round? Anyone feel it went easier?
I was doing St. Francis this time, so I did the qualities thing. So I didn't do that last time.
Mm-hmm.
The first quality I thought of was good with animals. And then later I started trying to remember the prayer of St. Francis. I forget what it's called. There's like a name for it. The Serenity Prayer. And it was like he has the wisdom to change, like know to.
Oh yeah, from yeah.
Something or,
accept the things we can to change.
yeah.
Change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Something along those lines.
Yes,
Yeah.
start thinking about that, like the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah.
So that's the second quality.
Which approach would you say you used? Did you use more the speech approach of enumerating the labels? Did you visualize any activities, or did you just connect more to the raw feeling of it?
Mantra, just good with animals, good with animals.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
The wisdom to know the difference. The wisdom
Yeah.
to know the difference. The wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah, and the whole thing with the three personalities, I don't know. I mean, it's what I've been taught. To me, it almost seems like easy, medium, hard. That the easiest would be to repeat the mantra. Then the next hardest would be to visualize. And then to me, that seems like the hardest one would be to connect with the feeling. But then maybe that just means that I'm speech personality, and that's why I order them that way. So I definitely don't ever want to assume that other people's brains work like mine. Okay, cool. We got another one. Yoda, wise, patient, spiritual. Yeah, I like Yoda too. He's a good. It's kind of fun imagining him in the space in front of you because he's so tiny.
Yeah, speaking about having fun, about having the person meditating in front of you. I got my first degree in music, and then when I realized I figured out I was going to be a world's great composer or rock and roll singing star, I went to another degree to get a daytime job. Okay, when I was interviewing for that daytime job, the fellow had a question to ask, and the question is, did you have a comic book hero? There was someone interesting for your comment about the culture and having.
Mm-hmm.
And I did, and it was Black Hawk. So it's interesting to be imagining Black Hawk meditating in front of me. And he said, well, what did he like about Black Hawk? Well, he had a group, and they were international. Each one in this group, they all had their own jet. They ran around, buzzed around the world, doing good things and sorting out rights and wrongs and all that sort of thing. And so it was really, and I hadn't totally forgotten about it, but I just hadn't thought about it because, what's going to be my next person? And Black Hawk came to mind. And it was really trippy to imagine this character that starts there. I don't know if it was Marvel or which comic it was. To imagine that person, I never would have thought I'm meditating, basically.
You're visualizing a cartoon sitting in front of you. Yeah. I did He-Man. That was an interesting one for me because he's not only a cartoon, but he's huge. So these can be kind of fun, and but I think it's also to meditate on concepts is something that we don't always get a chance to do, and then to meditate on wholesome, positive, virtuous concepts that we would like to emulate and would like to arise in ourselves. I think is nice. Does anyone else have anything to share before we move on to the third and final round?
I think this has been really interesting so far. It's fun to hear people's what they think of for.
Yeah.
The first where you mentioned comic book characters. The first one I did was this character called Animal Man, who was from this comic that I read like when I was in college, and then I read it again last year. And I didn't know who I was going to do next, and then for whatever reason in my head, I went to David Lynch because that's been on my mind, and we've been talking about meditating, and then I visualized him, and he was like meditating, so I was like trying to like ask him questions, and he was like, "Shut up, I'm meditating." But I was trying to figure out like, okay, who's the third person, and then he said Johnny Cash, and he mentioned a rock and roll singer, and I was like, oh yeah.
Oh, there you go.
That's what I thought of.
Perfect.
It's weird, like synchronicity.
Perfect. So for our third round, for those of you who visualized someone in front of you, and I would have skipped this, but it does seem like there was at least a couple that did the visualization. Also, this one may or may not be appropriate, and this is why I recommended saving your most spiritual one for last. You could totally do this with Johnny Cash, but you might be more comfortable with someone a little more abstract. And again, you don't have to do this, but if you visualize the first time, the final stage of this is you imagine them meditating in front of you. You're now meditating on their heart and meditating specifically on their heart and the positive qualities arising in their heart. They're meditating on your heart and witnessing the same qualities arise in your heart. And to solidify that, you can even imagine a blue light going from their heart to your heart and sort of transmitting these qualities from them to you. So it's a little bit weird if the person's on like the same level as you, like both human, to have that, but you can still try it. But of course, if it was a bodhisattva or someone sitting in front of you, then that would be a little bit more natural. So if you want to try that, that's an option. And go ahead and get into your meditation postures, and we have time for round 3. Just make sure your spine is straight and you have an alert, relaxed, stable posture. Go ahead and relax your body. Let your breathing be natural. Relax your mind. Don't intentionally think. And don't worry about your attention. Don't worry about what you're doing. Just rest for a few moments. And bring your third meditation object to mind and proceed with any of the instructions that we've covered up to this point. Okay, we're almost out of time for this evening. Did anyone try the third form of the meditation?
What was the third form again?
That was when you're visualizing them in front of you, you're meditating on their heart, they're meditating on your heart and watching the qualities arise in you. And then if you want a blue light, connecting your hearts as the qualities are transmitted from them to you.
Huh.
So a little tricky, a little requiring some visualization skill.
I kind of did that, but I didn't remember that you said that. It's weird.
That's awesome.
Because it was like, I was at the thrift store earlier and I saw this like tape, and it was like it was like I Must Tell Jesus was like the name of the tape. It was a song, I guess. So I was like picturing sitting across from Jesus, like I must tell Jesus. Like,
Yeah.
I had that kind of like, yeah, I did do that.
Cool. How was it?
I have this like cross at home that's like this like skull with like it's like a cross. It's like one of those Mexican ones, you know, that like screaming skull like on the cross, like with these little hearts.
Okay.
So I don't know. I was like kind of thinking about the crucifixion, so it was a little dark, but I mean,
Yeah.
well, I don't know. I don't know.
Just because it was dark doesn't mean it wasn't beneficial, you know, taking your mind to some places that maybe are helpful.
Yeah.
I also find Jesus as a good meditation object, which is interesting because I used to be Christian and not so much anymore now that I'm a Buddhist, but there's still nothing wrong with Jesus as an archetype. Anyone else that tried this want to share briefly?
So Kuan Yin was great, and it was wonderful experience. I'm glad that you guided us in how it's gonna look like the heart to heart.
Yeah.
And also I observed myself taking off again. Then previous week practices keep staying where my center, where my alignment, and where my breathing, and that took me back to connection to Kuan Yin and coming to the space again. And then she was unconditionally just smiling and nothing.
Yeah.
It was so nice, very nurturing experience, no judgment.
Yeah, I did a meditation on Kuan Yin recently too, and I was trying to connect to her quality of, you know, hearing the cries of the world and compassion for the whole world. But it was kind of interesting because then what I got was just her compassion for me, and then what arose in me was compassion for myself. So it took kind of a left turn and into something that I totally didn't expect. So that's excellent. Thanks for sharing. And did you have something?
Well, I thought it was interesting that who I ended up picking, and then you figure out what qualities. I go, oh, it's interesting that you pick the ones that you do either feel like you share those qualities or you aspire to those qualities. And so one of the qualities was cares very deeply about their friends. And so when I kept having them put that back towards me, I was like, I haven't called Greg. I was like turning it into like, I don't actually live up to this ideal that I value.
Yeah. But the fact that you value it does mean that you live up to that ideal. To, you know what I mean? Like there is that in you that is something that you value, which is good.
Yeah.
From the start, just, you know, maybe taking time to develop that more fully.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And then Tom, did you have something to say?
Yeah.
We're 2 minutes running over, so
Okay. Yeah.
brief version.
Yes. So I looked up and here are bodhisattvas there. Okay, that's pretty big, bodhisattvas. Then where it went from there was in the Lotus Sutra, I believe it is. There's this image of all the bodhisattvas of the earth, as the phrase, they're all emerging and they're coming out, which I think really is the Buddha nature in all of us, and that may be the bodhicitta you mentioned before. I'm not sure. I got to get this. But that was the who, the bodhisattvas of the earth.
Okay.
We were
Excellent.
sharing that with each other, and it relates because that's sort of my project is one world, one people, full of colors and diversity.
Mm-hmm.
So So there it was.
Then what was the quality of all the bodhisattvas that you were trying to connect to? The bodhicitta or the Buddha nature?
Well, I have to get what the definition of the bodhicitta is for you. To remind me, I would ask you that. But no, another time. But it was that positive feeling for others. So it was
Okay.
like a very laser-like compassion, caring, and, joy, love.
Yeah, and that's pretty much bodhicitta, is just the compassion for all beings. I mean, it's a nuanced definition because it can be used to mean different things. But in some readings, the bodhicitta is the same thing as Buddha nature. It's the same as Buddha nature. So it's just that compassion for all beings and wanting to see all beings liberated, or wanting to see all beings liberated before you're liberated. Though that it's in that kind of vein. It can vary depending on what school of Buddhism and stuff like that, and even what context it's used in. Okay, so we're 4 minutes over, so I'm going to wrap this up. Let's do a quick transfer of merit. May any merit gained from this practice benefit all the living beings without exception, and may we all seek the causes that bring true happiness. Okay, so before you go, I have a few announcements. We opened the Dharmabumtemple 18 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They are simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction. And our food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. The full schedule is on our website and also posted in the entryway above the shoe rack. We have a lending library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it and bring it back whenever you're done with it. Please straighten your seat or cushion before you head out. If a few people could stay to close and latch the windows, that would be helpful. Thank you for being here. We wish you well, and we hope to see you all again. Thank you.
Yeah.